animating stuff in my basement. So I animated like action figures and some clay models that I made. And I just did it for fun. And that started when I was 10 years old. When I was 17, I left home. Some people call it moving out. I call it moving out. Some people call it running away. I called it moving out. But I think when you move out, you have like a job and somewhere to go to. When you run away, you generally don't know where you're going, and you don't have any money, and you don't have any friends. That was more what I did. But I like hopped the turnstile and went to Manhattan, and I looked like the 6th member of Duran Duran. I really did. I had like blonde bangs and purple eyeshadow. I did not wear pants.
Right on.
In the shower. I did not wear pants between 1984 and 1989. I wore spandex tights every day. I had like knee-high Buccaneer boots. You know, I looked like Adamant or some crazy pirate. And hence it was impossible to find gainful employment.
Duh.
Yeah, I looked like a swashbuckling homosexual. My good man, do you have any occupations a swashbuckling homosexual from the turn of the century can aid you with? Oh, dear me, I'm not doing that. I worked at Tower Records, which was a record store back then in the East Village, where they specifically wanted people to look kind of weird, right? They wanted to look like rock stars.
Back in the day.
And that was the only place I could get a job. And then I was fired from there 4 months later, which was really traumatic, really. And my then girlfriend, who was wiser than I was, but that's because she was 47. Say oh like it's a bad thing. I'm kidding, I was exaggerating. She was only 37. Anyway, she said, well, why don't you get a job as an animator? I said, what do you mean? She said, well, you've been making animated films for 7 years, so why don't you take your animated films to an animation studio? And it had never occurred to me. Just never thought anybody would pay me to do this thing that I love so much. So that day, I packed up my films and I went to a place called Broadcast Arts where they were shooting a TV show called Pee-wee's Playhouse. I showed them my films and they said, all of our stop-motion animators are working on Pee-wee's Playhouse. We have no one to do the commercials. And they hired me pretty much that day. And I started animating TV commercials at 17. So I did Bud Bowl 2 years in a row, which was these Budweiser commercials for the Super Bowl, where I animated Bud bottles playing against Bud Light bottles in a giant arena. And I did commercials for IKEA, RC Cola, Parker Brothers, like the list goes on and on. And then in 88, I think, when I was like 19 or so, 84, 85, 86, 86 or 87, I was hired by MTV to direct a commercial. To start directing at like 19. And then I got to start doing stuff that was really weird and spooky, and that's how I got into the business. That's my 45-minute answer.
Wow.
And 10 years later, after a really, really great run, I quit the business because computer animation sort of took over. The stop-motion work really dried up. I was unwilling to learn computer animation. I just didn't want to do it. And I also was very stubborn. I only wanted to work on stuff that I directed and that was like dark and weird and creepy, so of course I worked like once a year instead of, I could have worked every day if I was animating singing donuts and dancing tampons and whatever else. But I didn't want to do that stuff anymore for some weird reason. And so I just quit the business and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make music for a while. And then I bought an acoustic guitar. Actually, someone gave me an acoustic guitar and I started naively writing songs and drawing comic books. And 10 years later, that has worked out pretty well. So I'm now making animated films again for fun. So I just finished, about to finish my 4th short. It's part of a series, and this is the wrap-up. It's part of a series I call the Chimeroscope series. They're these kind of like dream-like 1-minute films. They're all stop-motion animation. They're all weird as hell. And they're all narrated by singers. I've made 3 so far. The first ones were narrated by Debbie Harry of Blondie, Richard Butler of the Psychedelic Furs. The most recent one was narrated by Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance. And I just recorded the narration to the fourth one in LA last week by, you're just not even gonna believe. You're just, you know what? You're just not even gonna believe who narrated it. So I'm not gonna tell you.
Oh.
You wouldn't believe me anyway. But I hope it'll be done in a month. I mean, not a month. I hope it'll be done in a week or two. And then I'm gonna put it up on the internet. And yesterday I recorded the score. I wrote the score, and it was recorded by one of my favorite bands. Are you like guessing, or are you looking at my Facebook? Okay, yes. There was going to be a joke in there, but obviously we'll just cut to the punchline.
Oh.
It was going to be a secret, and then I decided that it was really unfair to have two secrets. Like, not telling you who the narrator is one thing, not telling you who did the score is really over the top. So yes, Rasputina recorded the score. They're a fantastic band, if you don't know them. And that film should be on the internet in a week or two. What's that? That's a great question. You can see them on my YouTube page, which is YouTube/Voltaire NYC. Without the weird noise. Voltaire NYC. Okay? What's that?
I don't know how I dealt with weird noise anyway.
Oh. That's
How do you spell that?
Swahili. QQKZK, you targ. In fact, all of my social networking sites are Voltaire NYC. So MySpace is myspace.com/Voltaire NYC. Facebook is the same. Don't bother with Facebook. I hit the Facebook Max Friends like a year ago, so I can't add anyone, which is ridiculous. So MySpace or YouTube. If you go to my MySpace page, you can click on one of the films right there, and it'll take you straight to the YouTube page. Next question. Oh my God.
You said on your album Almost Human, you sang a song Ringo no Uta. Do you enjoy singing in other languages, mainly Japanese, or are there other languages that you hope to sing in the future?
I have recorded several songs in foreign languages. On Almost Human, I did Ringo no Uta, which means the apple song in Japanese. I speak a fair amount of Japanese, and I do like to go to Japanese karaoke bars and sing songs in Japanese, and it totally flips them out. Really, like I walk in and it's just like, oh yeah, okay, sure. He's going to sing my way. And then I pick like, I don't know, the romantic version, Dramatic Rain or long version. They all have American titles for some reason. And then it comes up and like they're all sitting in a karaoke bar and they look over at me and I'm sitting there with the mic and they're just like, no way. It's all in kanji too, so it looks like I can read Japanese, but I can't. I just like memorize them phonetically. And so, you know, the entire karaoke bar will just be looking over at me going, what's gonna happen? And then the song comes on, you know, and I'm like, Yakusoku shinai to semete Nakitsukareta shisei no mama ni. And it's like, oh!